Morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's session, which is part of International Open Access Week. And we are at Rongo University. And what we're going to talk about is using open access resources and preprints as a journal selection strategy. My name is Joy Owango from the Training Center in Communication. We are based at the University of Nairobi. And I also, we are going to be speaking together with our partners, Africa Archive, which is Africa's first preprint repository, and both of us are going to both of us from Africa Archive and TCC Africa are going to take you through how you can use various open access resources, and also how you can use preprints and also make best use of Africa Archive in your journal selection strategy, and also how to mitigate predatory publishing, and also increase the visibility of the research output coming out of your institute. So we are very honored to have this session at Rongo University, and it's going to be deliberated by Mr. Joel Nakitare. And before we begin, we are going to have some opening remarks also from the Vice Chancellor and the DVC. Over to you, Joel, to take over the next session. Joel.
Thank you very much, Joy, and colleagues who are online. I want to take this chance to thank each and every one of you who has seen it twice to join this discussion. It is coming at the tail end of the Open Access Week, but we as a university, we are happy that we are hosting this. I want to take this chance to welcome the DVC Academic Affairs, who is also online, just to welcome the participants. Prof, we have participants, majority from our university, but we also have quite a number from outside Rongo University who we invited to join us in this discussion. So I will welcome Prof. Agostino Nkwara, our DVC Academic Affairs, to just welcome and say hi to our participants, and then invite the Vice Chancellor. Karibu, Prof.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you all. Thanks to the organizers of this event. And thanks for inviting us to participate in this event. I know they had indicated that we are starting a bit late, therefore I won't take much time, but to indicate that reading from different sources is definitely a very important exercise for scholars, so that they get better informed in the areas where they carry out their research and where they do their publication. As has been indicated, this session will also educate us on how we can mitigate against predatory journals and the like. And I think that's very good, because one thing we need to have our scholars publish in journals that can have a wide circulation and which are not considered to be predatory, high ranking, and of course high standard journals. We also want our scholars to be able to access material from high standard journals, so that as they make reference to material which is already published, it is material with integrity and material that definitely adds to the general good of publication and scholarly activity in our midst, not only in Africa, but worldwide. And as we continue today, I wish all of us a good exercise, successful presentation, good listening, and most of all, use of the knowledge and other skills that we gain during this exercise in our future publication endeavors. Thank you very much. I don't know whether, Joel, you wanted me to invite the Vice Chancellor or you want to do that yourself. Thank
I
you.
will appreciate if you do that, Prof. It's okay.
Thank you, colleagues. Therefore, I would wish to then invite the Vice Chancellor. I'm hoping he is available and hearing to address. Prof, good morning.
Good morning, Professor Nkwari. I'm here.
Yeah, you know, these
listening.
services where you hope the other party is not just a picture on the wall. You can invite people who are doing other things. Good morning, Prof, and welcome to this session. And please, if you can give us your blessings as we.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Nkwari, and all who are attending this meeting. I take cognizance of the presence of Joy Wango and John Senobanda, and colleagues from the other universities, colleagues from Rongo University. I want to say good morning and welcome to Rongo University in this virtual meeting. I want to thank Joel and the team for organizing this meeting at the right time. I do understand and know very much that we are expected as scholars to be able to share knowledge in the areas we do. And therefore, we always use media to tell people what we also do. One of the great opportunities in open access resource journals. And since the advent of the open access journals, a lot of information is now circulating. And I think the flood of information coming through open access journals has also come with some questions as to the validity of some of the open access journals, and also is the scrutiny in terms of the information content that goes through. I think as far as I'm concerned as a scholar, open access journals have allowed us to access information that initially before the advent of open access journals were very difficult to get. And therefore, this is an important avenue and opportunity for scholars to get opportunity to share, and not just to share, but to also get access to information of what is happening in the rest of the world. And since the open access journals has come with the questions in terms of what kind of information goes there, the authenticity, and many more questions and challenges, this workshop is coming at the right time when we as Rongo University and the other scholars in the country and outside get opportunity to address some of the challenges that may be coming along with open access journals and resources. I know that as scholars, even as we share this information, there is also the benefit of getting promotion in our various professions, especially in the university. People get promoted in the number of, based on the number of activities that you do, and one of them is publication in refereed journals. And the quality of the journals have also become under very close scrutiny. And therefore, I think in this workshop, there will be an opportunity to answer all the worries and questions that may surround publication in open access journals and other resources. I want to take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to say that in the area of keeping a repository of this information, the librarians become extremely critical, and Joel has been so instrumental even as we were developing our promotion criteria. And it is the time now that we got opportunity to share with Joel and experts like Joy Rongo and Johan Zenobanda and many others who are concerned in this area, to be able to expose to us the new frontiers in print, in publishing in these open access journals and other information resources. I want to take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to encourage you to participate actively, so that by the end of this workshop, each one of us goes back with the relevant information and encouragement to publish in the right open access journals. Without taking much information, ladies and gentlemen, because time is running, I want to declare this workshop open and wish you the very best as you endeavor to learn something that you will be sharing back with us in our various senates and in various fora where academicians meet. May God bless you.
Thank you very much, Prof. We really appreciate for finding time to join us. We are going to have 2 short presentations, then Q&A immediately after. If your time allows, kindly you can follow us in the background. So without taking much time, I want to take this chance to welcome Joy. I would not be the best person to introduce her. She will introduce herself, tell us a bit about the TCC and what TCC is all about. Then she'll also give her colleague presenter, Johnson, a chance to introduce himself. The 2 presentations we run back to back. And then after the presentation, if you have a query as the presentations goes on, just drop them in the Q&A or the chat. Then we'll have a Q&A session immediately after. So thank you very much and most welcome, Joey.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joel, for the kind introduction. My name is Joy Owango. I'm the Executive Director of the Training Center in Communication. We are based at the University of Nairobi, Chiromo campus, and we've been in existence for the last 15 years. And for the last 15 years, what we do is that we train, support, and empower career researchers, mature researchers, research and support research institutes and government and higher education stakeholders in improving their research output and increasing their visibility through scholarly and science communication training. And the aspect of open science is extremely vital to us, because there is no way a research institute can produce good quality research or improve its research output without literature resources or literature resources. And when you're looking at literature resources, yes. So if you're critically looking at the literature resources, we are looking at not only reading information, but you're looking at research discovery resources. We're also looking at platforms that can help in storing and sharing of your data. And that is where the repositories come in. And all this support the entire research life cycle. So it is, before we are quick to say that the universities are not producing good quality research, you need to look at the infrastructural systems within the universities. What do they have? What have they invested in? And this is why you'll come to realize One of the most expensive things in the higher education sector is the literature resources and the infrastructural systems that are used to support the university. And this is why open access is such a game changer, because it is offering a leveling plane for universities to have free resources to do their research discovery, free resources to deposit their data, so repositories. But at the same time, what needs to be done is to make sure that these resources are accessible. So it's one thing to say it is open access and it's there, but it's another thing for it to be accessible. So that is why when we go through some of these sessions, we are training researchers on how they can improve their research output through scholarly and science communication. So as a center, we work very closely with the vice chancellors and the deputy vice chancellors and directors of research and see how we can support we are not taking over their systems within the university, but working closely with these offices to support their early career researchers in their research life cycle. So from research idea to publishing, okay, to even the journal selection strategy. So we work hand in hand so that this is a joint effort. It's not something that you can say it's only done by universities. There are various stakeholders who are involved, who are keen to support the higher education sector so that we can help in improving the research output coming out of your respective institutions. So we've been doing this for the last 15 years, trained over 10,150 researchers, worked in over 80 institutes, and we have an active membership of mentorship program of 900 researchers, which what we've done is that we've partnered with an organization called IDA Africa. And what we do with them is that once we've trained our researchers, they are put in this mentorship group and they are guided on how to write their research proposals, how to write their scientific papers, that entire research life cycle to the point of publishing. So as I said, we train, support, and empower research institutes. And what we are taking you through today is the empowerment bit, letting you know what resources that are available, open access resources that are available to make a smart journal selection process. And also through the empowerment, knowing how you can use these solutions effectively. The reality is, if the mere fact that some of these resources exist doesn't mean that most people are aware of them and they do not know how to use them effectively. So this is part of the empowerment, and it is also sustainable in the sense that once you know it is available and it is open access, you do not have a reason to produce poor quality research because you have access to resources that can help you produce good quality research and also can help you in improving your research visibility. So we're going to talk about scholarly communication and publishing and the aspects around it, with a focus on journal selection strategy and what solutions are there to help you. So it is so easy to say that it is not, it's some of these resources you'll have to subscribe to them. Yes, unfortunately, some of them you have to subscribe to them, but there are some that are open access. So there are two types of databases when you're looking at your research discovery, when you're going through your journal selection strategy. There are two types. There are open access ones and there are paywall ones. So you might be familiar with the paywall ones, so Web of Science, Scopus, and Science Direct. But the citation databases I'm going to take you through are Dimensions and Lens.org. Now, for context, for those who are in the library sciences or information sciences, they might know what citation databases are. So for those of you who are not in that field, let me explain what citation databases are, and I'll differentiate them from bibliographic databases because you've seen them. So let's start with the bibliographic database. A bibliographic database collates bibliographic information. So you're looking at titles, abstracts, sometimes full text, and journal information. It doesn't give you citation information. When you're talking about citation information, it doesn't calculate the citation of a paper. It doesn't show you the metrics of the paper. It just puts the list and links to the paper and the journals. That one is helpful, but it can be a bit of a challenge, especially if you want to do a quick search and search by relevance or search by the top cited authors, search by the top cited papers, top cited research areas. So this is why citation databases come in, because they are one step ahead of the bibliographic databases, okay, where they start calculating citations. So the open access citation databases, which you can also use for your smart journal selection strategy, are Dimensions and the Lens. I'm going to share with you how you can access both. Now, because of the rise of predatory publishing, Think, Check, Submit by the Directory of Open Access Journals is a checklist on critiquing the journals or even publishers that you've identified. So it takes you through, it's a literally how-to guide to critique the journals you've identified. So please go through it. When you go to Think, if you just go online and click Think, Check, and Submit, it will take you to its landing page. And what you do is that once you've already identified the journals that you want to publish in, go through this platform, and it will take you through the various checklists that you need to look out for before you decide to publish in those journals. So publishing in predatory journals the narrative should be, we now have resources that we can use to critique journals. Don't say we do not know. These resources exist and they're also open access. So when you're ready to submit, all you need to do is you need to go to the checklist, because if you're able to get to the checklist, you'll realize the benefit of it will lead to raised professional profile, okay? A raised professional profile. Your paper will be able to be indexed, okay? Your paper will be able to be indexed because that paper is in an indexed journal, all right? So meaning the world will start seeing it, and you end up looking professional. And then once that is done, of course, you should be able to submit your article to that identified journal. When you go to the TCC Africa website, so I'm putting this in the chat. So when you go to the TCC Africa website, just click on resources. When you click on resources, there is a list of databases that you can use. You can use to access. There are a list of resources that you can use that can guide you in your journal selection strategy. So what is there is that we have options that are bibliographic, and those that are bibliographic and citation type of databases. So the bibliographic databases include African Journals Online, the Director of Open Access Journals. So let's look at African Journals Online. If you're interested in publishing in African journals, any African journals, you're looking at 536 African journals already indexed in African Journal Online. And it's also broken down by country. So you have no excuse to question on where to publish, okay? So your smart journal selection strategy can start from the continent. Then the Director of Open Access Journals obviously has a larger view, a global view, so you'll be able to get that. Then there is dimensions. Now, one thing you need to understand, since we are all Kenyans in this meeting room, so far we are all Kenyans. Yes, we are all Kenyans. Kenya is a Research for Life country. So the first thing you need to do, some of you are librarians and some of you are not librarians. Ask the researchers, ask your librarian for the university's Research for Life login details. Okay, once you get the Research for Life login details, go to, this is a step-by-step, go to the content, you'll just see it in the drop-down menu, click on content, under content, click on databases. When you scroll down, you'll start seeing African Journals Online, but it is alphabetical. It has been listed alphabetically. You will see dimensions. I hope you got that. Get the login details for Research for Life from your librarian. Once you've logged in, go to the content menu. The drop-down menu under content is databases, and you will see a list of databases listed alphabetically, and you click dimensions. When you click dimensions, you'll be able to use that for your journal selection strategy, and I'm going to show you right now. Okay, there's also the lens.org, which you can also use. So these are all databases that you can use for your journal selection strategy. So dimensions. So remember when I was talking about the Research for Life? So you get into Research for Life, click on the content menu, then you click on databases, that is the drop down, and it will take you to a list of databases, and dimensions is there. It is listed alphabetically, so you cannot miss it. Now, looking at smart journal selection strategy. So The one thing you'll notice about dimensions is that it has over 120 million records. It's quite a bit. And the best way to do your journal selection strategy is just search by subject area. Okay, so you put your subject area, any subject area, and you'll click, and the drop-down menu will show you source titles. So the research, the journals that are available in that particular research area. So like in this case, you can see malaria, and it's Lancet. That is the first one that you can see. But then when we pull it out, pull out that information, you can get the top 10. You can get the top 10 journals in that area, in malaria. So just going back, so sorry, you can get the top 10. And then other thing is, you can get, just from just a quick search, you can get the top 10. But when you do an analysis, you'll be able to get it in the top one. You can get up to 100 journal options. So I'm going to take you through a quick demonstration for you to see that. You can get up to the top 100 journals in this area. Then you can choose whether you want open access or not. And it even shows you the types of open access journals that you may choose to use. Okay, so they're automatically mitigating predatory publishing, and you'll be able to do a smart journal selection strategy, because what it does is that it collates only indexed journals. So you have the guarantee of good quality journals being put within the Dimensions platform. And as I say, this is free. So go to your librarian, get the Research for Life login details, and then you access Dimensions. And I'm going to show you how to do that right away. It won't even take 5 minutes. The other platform, I'm just giving you options that you need to look out for, is lens.org. All you need to do is just click on lens.org, put in your subject area. You can see, did the same thing. Put in your subject area, and you're able to get the list of journals, and you also get to get the list of publishers, depending on the researcher. Sometimes the researcher might want just to work with a certain publisher, journals from certain publishers. So you can get that, and here you can also get the journals. So as you can see, the journal selection strategy today is becoming easier thanks to artificial intelligence, right? So gone are the days when somebody would say, I do not know where to start, or I'm worried that I'm worried about predatory publishing, because even publishers today are becoming intuitive. And if you're interested in just working with their journals, they already have journal finders. Okay, they already have journal finders. So these are already intuitive platforms that are being used, to help researchers publish. Now, so I need to show you this screen. Okay. All right. So how did I get here? Are you able to see the screen? Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. In order to get to this screen, all I needed to click was Research for Life login. Are you seeing that? So just write Research for Life, Research for Life login. Okay. Since I already had the login details, it already saved on my computer. So when you have the login, it will take you to this portal, this blue portal. Your librarian should give you their login details. Each institute has its own login details and password. So you log in. Then, as I told you, you go to the content page, got content menu. The drop down is the databases. Okay, so most of these databases are bibliographic. So the citation one is Dimensions. Okay, so I just want to show you the exercise based on the screenshots I've shared with you right now. And the first thing you're going to notice is the filters. So you can really narrow down your research area to Kenya. So let's look at malaria. Okay, so you have malaria. And then let's say you want to see, let's start with the global aspect. So you have, these are the journals in malaria, the top 10. But if you click the analytical views, it is opening. You can see almost over 100 journals. And the list is on, it's just ongoing. It's still loading, okay? Are you seeing this? All right, so that is the global aspect of it. But then let's say you want to narrow down to journals that Kenyan researchers have published in on malaria, okay? So you can really narrow down your scope. And even if you want, you can narrow down to your institute. So who in Rongo University has published on malaria, okay? So you narrow down and let's see the source titles. There you go, the top 10. And then we go to the analytical view. The list is still long. Okay, are you able to see this, the top 10?
Yes.
Good. Then the analytical view, the source titles. There you go. And the list is really long. It's still opening up. So this is on Kenya, okay? So let's say you still want to narrow down. You're looking at journal selection strategy, okay? So let's say you still want to narrow down. You're like, okay, so we want to see the researchers who've published on malaria in Kenya from Rongo University. Honestly, Joel and dear colleagues, this will never be a problem when it comes to publishing for your researchers, because you can even see where they are publishing. So let's say in Kenya, from Rongo University, we had one researcher who published in, let's see, learning health systems, okay, on malaria, published on learning health systems. Remember, these are journals that are indexed. So the hard questions start coming out. Where are you publishing? Remember, this is an open access platform, and it only indices indexed journals. So when we talk about indexed journals, these are journals that are already, let's start with African Journals Online. African Journals Online is already indexed in Dimensions, Directory of Open Access Journals, okay? So we are looking at journals that are indexed. So this is where you're able to mitigate predatory publishing, because you're able to see the journals where you are publishing in, okay? So you can see that it really helps in mitigating predatory publishing. And maybe you say you want to only focus on open access journals. So you click on all open access publications, and then let's see the journals out of there, okay? So Kenyan researchers are publishing in these open access journals on malaria, okay? So we can click the analytical view to see more. And the list is endless, as you can see. These are all open access journals. So what am I trying to say? Technology today is available to help you mitigate predatory publishing, okay? There are quite a number of solutions that can help in mitigating predatory publishing. As a center, we are continuously training research institutions and our researchers on how they can use some of these technologies to improve their research discovery and to do their smart selection, journal selection strategy. What I can comfortably say with some level of confidence, today, with access to some of these solutions, the predatory publishing should not be an issue per se, mainly because these solutions are open access. The library is always talking and is always sharing this information with the respective academic community, and we are more than happy as a center to work closely with you in showing you how to use some of these various open access research discovery solutions to help in mitigating predatory publishing and also having a proper journal selection strategy. Thank you so much. Joel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Joy. Just to reassure the colleagues, most especially those from Rongo University, yes, we access research for life resources and we have the dimensions database. So if there's anybody who would want to be supported, kindly visit the library. We'll take you through at your own pace till you're able to navigate this database. So I really want to appreciate if there's any question on Joy's presentation, feel free to type in the chat box. But I want to bring on board the second presenter, that is Johansson. Once it's through, then we'll have the Q&A for both presenters. Thank you very much. Sorry, Joy.
Sorry, Joel. I just wanted to say that also thanks to the confidence from the Rongo University academic community on dimensions is because we've actually trained them. So we started with Joel, and Joel actively brought in the academic community twice. So we've trained over 100 researchers cumulatively on how to use dimensions for research discovery and journal selection strategies. So you're really in good hands. So you really have no excuse to say that there is no support system to show you on how to mitigate predatory publishing and how to improve your research discovery. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you, Joy. Johansson, if you can hear me, I can see a screen coming up. So we'll have the second presentation from Johansson. Immediately after, we'll have a session. If you have any question, you can type in or you raise your hand immediately after we finish, and we give you a chance to have a bit of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll introduce myself. I'm Johansson Obanda, and I'm calling in from Kisumu. And I'm so privileged to be here. I'm communications manager at Africa Archive, and my background is in biochemistry and social innovation. And to introduce you to Africa Archive, we are an open access portal, and we were founded in 2018 because of the necessity to have an African repository of all information and initiatives on open science. Africa Archive utilizes established digital scholarly infrastructure, or in other words, scholarly repository services, for the purpose of making African scholarly output discoverable. And these repository services include Center for Open Science, Zenodo, PubPub, Science Open, Figshare, and Chaos. We collaboration among African researchers to enhance the visibility of African research output and to increase collaboration within the continent and globally. Basically, when you use Africa Archive, you raise your profile as an African researcher. And the challenge that we are trying to solve, or the challenge that we are solving actively, is limited access and slow adoption of open access infrastructure for the African research community. And these in more detail include low visibility of African research scholarly output internationally, African researchers being less integrated into international research networks, and restricted access to research funding and language barriers. And from when we got founded until now, as you can see, we have had submissions from at least 23 African countries out of 39. And we've had over 800 articles currently, and partnered with 6 repository systems, received 2 awards, which include JROST, Rapid Response Grant, and ASAP Bio. And we've partnered with over 36 organizations, which include peer review services, translation, and capacity building organizations. And while Joel talk more about the open access resources, I'm going to talk about the preprints. And preprints are the version of scholarly or scientific paper that precedes formal peer review and publication in a peer-reviewed scholarly or scientific journal. The preprint may be available often as a non-typeset version available free before or after a paper is published in a journal. Preprints are the author's final version of a manuscript and can be shared online free of charge If shared on an independent specialized scholarly repository, like one of those integrated with Africa Archive, accepted manuscripts will be licensed, usually by CC BY, assigned with the DOI and indexed in a scholarly digital database, thereby establishing priority of discoverability for the author and making the work citable and at the same time discoverable. And this is called green open access. And I'm going to also talk about traditional publishing and preprint publishing, because we're talking about preprints here, and also we're talking about strategies or the strategies of getting into journals or getting articles accepted into journals. So the global established workflow for sharing scholarly results is via journal publishing. And in Africa, many journals are published in print only. Thereby, articles published there will not be discoverable. And this is gradually changing. As Joy had highlighted a few resources that the journals in Africa are slowly taking up. So African researchers are facing high rejection rate for submissions to international or Western journals, and for various reasons, including regional bias or grammar and formatting issues. And other barriers, including article processing costs and access to Western scholarly databases for literature review. Africa Archive welcomes the submission of postprints also, the manuscript version of an article after peer review and before typesetting and formatting. And now, when you submit your article to Africa Archive, your article gets assigned with a DOI, like I said earlier, and it will get indexed in an open, in a scholar digital database, also including dimensions that Joya talked about. And it is important as you're using preprints to subscribe to persistent identifiers. For researchers, it will be the ORCID ID, and for institutions, it will be ROR, that is for Rongo University, for example, and for the output that is published, it will be assigned the DOI. And these include some of the interfaces of the repository services that we're partnering with, how you can navigate to access articles there, and also how you can navigate to publish your article. And now about selecting a journal. Joy talked about some of the resources, and I'm also going to share with you those that we've listed on our website. We have outlined open access tools for selecting suitable journals for your work on our website, which include directory of open access journals, African journals online, open journal match and specific keyword search, which you can use on any other publisher's website that can bring or filter the relevant journals that you can submit your work to. And there are many reputable journals that do not charge any APCs. And we're going to try to see an example shortly. And you can use Africa Archive to share a preprint, to share your preprint to collect feedback before submitting to a journal. And this is, I would recommend this as a best practice, because the factors that lead to high rejection rate in journals include sometimes petty issues, like grammar and formatting, and other times it can be about the content itself, like references and methodologies and just the whole research or article structure. And when you submit to Africa Archive, then your work is made open access immediately, or your work is made, discoverable immediately or soon after you've submitted. And through that, you can share with your peers and you can get feedback for it. also, we have peer review services integrated into some of the services that we have, including Science Open, where you can get peer review for your work. When you get that and you revise the versions and keep getting that until it is satisfactory, there is a high chance you're going to your article is going to be accepted in a reputable journal. And I'm going to go to Open Journal Matcha. And there's an article, if you can see, I hope you can see my screen. I'm sharing one article in OSF that is understanding the barrier among women living with HIV in Kenya and Uganda. And I copied the abstract of this article and pasted it on Open Journal Matcha, and it gave me results of possible journals that I can upload my article to. And this is one of the resources. So from your abstract, for example, of maybe publish after publishing it as a preprint, you can use the abstract to get possible journals for your work. And Jay also talked about think, check, submit. It would be important to visit the website, listen to the or watch the video to learn more about it. And also there's a job, and they have when you navigate it as a researcher, and if you can see my cursor, how to use a job for researchers, and then how researchers can use a job, and then you can find journals on a job, Africa Journals Online, and then you can find them by titles, especially if you understand the in which discipline your article belongs. And there is also directory of open access journals where you can search for journals using different criteria that is suitable or that you prefer, and it can help you. For example, I searched journals on Africa. You can search on health. You can search on using different keywords, and then you will find a summary of what those journals are, including how the licenses that are accepted and the article cost. For example, there is this PSU research review, and it doesn't cost anything to publish here. But then, does it correspond with your discipline, the discipline that you want to publish, or the discipline of your article? I mean, yeah. And so when you go to Africa Archives website and then go to About and Open Scholarly Publishing, you will find the resources here that we've listed that you can use to find an article, to find a journal or a reputable journal for your work. Great. So I would say thank you so much at this point, and I would be glad to answer any question. And over to you, Jera.
Thank you very much, Johnson and colleagues who are online. As I said earlier, if you have any question, please feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A section. But as we prepare for that session, allow me to recognize my colleagues, senior colleagues in Rongo, from Rongo University, and those in the profession. And in a special way, I've seen the chair of our consortium, the Kenya Library and Information Services Consortium, Professor Kabudia, is online. Karibu sana, Prof. And also Dr. Njoroge from Kenyatta University. We are happy to have each and every one of you. I've dropped 2 links in the chat box and will drop more. I will request you open them and bookmark them so that you can be able to build your resources for information, open access resources. The first one I've dropped is the OC ID. For those who don't have a unique ID for their research work, please log in and set up. And in many cases, you'd find some maybe already opened up, but it is not active. Check and ensure that if you already have an account, then you just populate it. But it will be good as a researcher to ensure that you have your unique identifier. I've also dropped a link for the biggest platform for open access resources, that is CORE. If you can find time on it, that would really be a good starting point when you're searching for information. And I can see Joy has just put in a link. If you are lost in the world of open access, I think TCC Africa have done such a nice job. Go to your website and I've listed all the resources that can support you at different stages of research. So thank you very much, colleagues. If there's anybody with a question, a comment, this is the time. You can type or you can raise your hand, then we'll be able to handle. Joy, if there's anything you want to mention, Karibu.
Yes. Okay. So what one of the things we want to emphasize is that, especially for research visibility and also for smart journal selection strategy, for researchers, you need to know this: to access Africa Archive and to deposit your work as individual researchers, it is free. Okay, so my biggest concern, and this is something we've sat down in so many meetings where you say the Commission of, okay, it's a good thing we are all Kenyans here, so I can contextualize it and say that, oh, the Commission of University Education says that I cannot graduate without publishing. The reality is, if you already have a preprint or you've deposited your paper in a preprint repository, it already starts collating review, and it becomes easy, and citation, and it becomes easy for you to start identifying journals that you can publish in, so that you don't rush and publish in any journal that comes your way. So what am I trying to say? That for the leadership in universities, vice chancellors, deputy vice chancellors, look at ways in which, look at some of the policies that you have within your institute and see, do you consider preprints as publication outputs as prior to graduation? Because the reality is, Kenyan researchers are already putting their outputs in preprints. For those of you in the biomedical research or in the health sciences, you're already using bioRxiv, you're also using medRxiv. All right. So, and these are helping you in your journal selection strategy. So you already have a platform where you can put your manuscript, and as you're waiting to identify a journal to publish in, instead of putting it in the first journal that comes your way, the beauty is that this manuscript preprint starts collecting citation and downloads. It is already going through peer review, because the Africa Archive also has a peer review community, because that is the other thing we always get. We always ask, is there a peer review community? Yes. And then from what Joel has shown you, it has a smart matcher. So beyond just putting your manuscript in the platform of Africa Archive, it can also help you start identifying good journals that you could publish in. So you end up having a smart journal selection strategy. The world starts seeing your papers. And my request to the leadership is critically consider preprints as outputs. Even when we are discussing with higher education stakeholders, as TCC Africa and Africa Archive, we are closely working with the higher education stakeholders to start considering preprints as outputs, such that when you are graduating, it's already accessible. Your paper is already accessible, and it protects you from just quickly publishing in any journal and becoming a victim of predatory publishing. It is really up to the institute to give you the leeway of period in which your manuscript can actually be accepted in a journal before maybe they give you your certification. I leave that to the institute. But at the end of the day, let's protect the authors such that you've done great research and you're not stressed that you need to publish in the nearest journal that comes your way. You put your papers in you put your manuscripts in Africa Archive. Okay, and it already gets a DOI, so it is protected. The other thing you might wonder is that, oh, what about my work? Will it be protected? Yes, it is protected. Nobody is going to steal your work because it already has a DOI. Now, supposing you have extra data, you know, we are talking, both of us, we are talking about, we're singing the same voice. I'm talking from the research capacity aspect of how you can use Africa Archive. Supposing you've got extra data, where do you put it? Africa Archive is there. You put your extra data. For those of you who are in social sciences and you did your audio and video recordings, you put it in Africa Archive, because there's a platform purely for indexing videos. Even this workshop is going to be indexed in Africa Archive, and it can be used as a training material because it will also have a DOI, and you can cite that information as well. So what we are trying to tell you as researchers, gone are the days when you're wondering where to put your work. Okay, now what about for the libraries? So we have Joel, we have Professor Kabulia, I saw Dr. Njoroge. These are senior people at the Kenya Library Information Services Consortia. In Consortia, you start wondering, okay, so you have your repositories, and it's amazing, it's doing great work. Why? We need to ask ourselves hard questions. Why is it that when you look at the output within your university, it is more than what the world sees? We need to make sure that your repositories are indexed in platforms that meet the FAIR principles. So when we're talking about the FAIR principles, we're looking at platforms that can make your work findable, accessible, interoperable, so meaning that your platform is interoperable and the data can be reproducible. Now, Africa Archive is that. So we are accepting, we want to work with you such that we can index your repositories and then the world can see it. We are in partnership with several international open access repositories, and that does explodes, for lack of a better word, the visibility of your output. Instead of seeing 1,000 publications coming out of your university, we should be seeing more what you see in your repository plus what the world sees. So in order for this to be successful, we need to work together so that we can support not only the researchers but the leadership within your universities in making sure that the world sees the actual output coming out of your institute. There's a question from Nancy. Is a preprint and a final paper, are they two publications at the end of the day? Okay, no, it's not. So when you're writing, so Nancy, for context, so you've done your research and you've worked on your manuscript, all right? So when you've worked on your manuscript, your challenge is, where can I publish? So the reality is that manuscript is going to be in your computer. All right, so instead of it just staying on your computer, we put it in a preprint repository. So it stops being, it becomes a preprint within the repository, and once it is accepted in a paper, in a journal, it becomes a postprint. So it is the same article. It's the same article. But then there's also another option that you've already published your paper, and you can put that published paper still in Africa Archive. Okay, so those are two things. Does that answer the question? And I believe our colleague has answered that as well. So how much does it, for researchers, individual researchers, it is free. To put in your work in Africa Archive, it's free. For research institutions, we normally work, you're welcome, Nancy. For research institutions, we normally work with the number of, the amount of research output they have, and the FTEs. FTEs is the number of researchers they have in terms of postgraduate. So it varies from university to university, but it is truly affordable. One thing we should not lie to ourselves, everyone here, when we're talking about open access, we shouldn't assume the entire spectrum of open access is free, but we should be talking about the equitable access to open access. That is the most important bit. And that the other thing is the affordability, so that even African researchers or researchers in the global south can afford to make sure that the solutions that are being used are accessible and also affordable. So with that philosophy in mind, by the time any of us will be coming to you or any of the institutions, trust me, it's not a figure that is going to make you bulk and break the bank. No. We are looking at how we can work together in making sure that your work is indexed. You know, that is my nightmare, because we, in my position, I am privileged to sit in the International Science Council, which is on the Committee on Scientific Publishing. And the one thing that I keep on seeing is that we can't see our work. And the reason why we can't see our work is that as African researchers and research institutes, we've not invested smartly in platforms that meet the FAIR principle. So you can't see it. It doesn't mean that you're not doing that work. So one of the reasons why we decided to set up Africa Archive and also partner with Africa Archive, it is a platform by Africans for Africans to support African research visibility. Okay, and then what we are doing to go global, we intentionally partnered with international repositories. Okay, international repositories such that your work can be easily accessible. So it can be easily accessible beyond the institution. Remember, we've divided it into two. For the researchers, so the individuals, it's free. So please take advantage of it. For the research institutions, because it involves more work and some technical support, then that's why there's a small fee added to that. But for the individuals, all of you here as individual researchers, all 69 of you, remember it's free. Put your papers there. Put your extra data there. Each of it will get DOIs. These are all free. I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you very much, Joy. If there's anybody who would want to maybe participate or say something, we still have a few minutes. You can raise your hand. We'll give you a chance. Sorry,
there's
Joy?
a question about similarity issues. Maybe Johansson, you could talk about that similarity. Or Nancy, please explain what you mean by similarities. Maybe we do not understand it quite well. You can speak, please.
Okay, thank you. What I refer to as similarity issues is in the preprint and the final paper. When the publisher, when I deposit my work with archives, and then the publisher, would it look like I've plagiarized myself?
Okay. No. So that is why when I was explaining how it works, is that it is the same paper. It is the same paper. So you have started as, I'll just go explain the way I had started. So you have written your paper and you're looking for a journal to publish in, right? So instead of it staying in the computer, you put it in a platform where the world will start seeing it and start downloading it and citing it. But as it is in that platform, it is also going through open review, because open peer review. So because Africa Archive is also in partnership with peer review communities. So it's going through peer review. Then that same preprint that is going through peer review and is already getting citation. And please, when you're citing, you cite it as a preprint, okay? So when it's going through the citation and you're going through your journal selection strategy, by the time a journal has accepted that manuscript, which is actually the preprint, nothing changes unless maybe the amendments on the peer review that you are asked to do by the authors, which will also reflect on the preprint. So by the time it is accepted and is already published, it is the same thing, nothing changes at all. So it is a continuous workflow. I hope you understand. I hope it is clear now. Nothing changes. So you don't plagiarize yourself. It's the same document. It's just that it is accessible earlier than it staying on your computer as you're going through your journal selection strategy. You're welcome.
I can add.
Yes.
I can add to it as Joe Haveman. And by the way, I'm happy to announce we are a co-founder, Joe Haveman, co-founder for Africa Archive, is also in the call. And like she had put on the chat, preprints and journal articles are perceived as different versions with separate identifiers. One could come first. You might have your journal which got published, your journal article which got published, and then you want to have a preprint maybe for more discoverability. When you're using either of those interfaces to submit your work, you are able to add an entry, for example, like a version of it or a published version of it. For example, if you're publishing on Zenodo or OSF on Africa Archive, you will be asked if this article, if there's a version of this article that is existing somewhere, or if there's a published, if it's published already, and then you will be able to add the details of the journal itself and the DOI from the journal of that article, so that when someone is looking up the article, then they can trace to where it was originally published, if it is a journal, and if it is from the journal that you are uploading that entry, then they're able to find also other relating articles, either from another preprint, for example, Africa Archive. So it will be the same, but different versions. It could be the final of each, or yeah. Great, thank you.
And there's no plagiarism in any of them. It's, as you can see, it's just an improved version of the preprint until it is accepted as a manuscript. So nothing is plagiarized. And in each version, it is protected because it's getting DOIs. Has that been helpful? Okay.
Very much, Joy.
Yes, please continue, Joe.
Thank you very much, Joy. I keep asking if there's anybody who would want this to be a debate, if there's or rather we have a few minutes to hear a bit more from the researchers. So if there's anything, kindly feel free to raise your hand, and then we'll give you a chance. But as we do that, I recognize my senior colleagues at Rongo and in the profession. And I forgot my colleagues, or rather my lecturers at Technical University. I've seen some of them online. Just to ensure that I graduate, I think it would be good to recognize and appreciate that they're online. I would want to say, or rather to encourage our researchers, that most of these resources, they exist. If we seek them in good time and we try to know them in good time before even when we have a paper and a deadline to publish, then it becomes much easier. My experience with many researchers has been they come with the deadline, with the graduation date already set, and somebody wants to publish. So that at times cannot work, and many of our researchers, you find they take their papers in wrong journals because of that pressure. But it is true we have more than enough information. For those I train, I keep telling them, the librarian of today, we are struggling with excess information, not lack of it. So from onset, as we are doing anything, please know that we have excess resources and information. It is just the capacity and ability of how to navigate. And that is why the libraries are there. For those logging in from different institutions, visit and be friends with the library. Let the librarian walk you through these databases. Let the librarian support you through these resources. And with time, you'll also have the ability to support others. I can see a question from George. If either Joy or Johnson can take it, I'll appreciate.
But there's also a question from James. He's raised his hand, so maybe he can ask that. Then we will respond to George. Is that okay? James, you can ask the question because yeah.
Thank you, Joy. I asked it on the chat. Maybe you didn't read it, but let me put it now. It's about when you apply, when you have a journal, like an institution has a journal, but has not been indexed. Then you apply for indexing. How long does it take? And what is the process like? Thank you.
Okay, now that's well slightly wincing. So journal selections, journal indexing is heavily reliant on the platform you've sent your journal to be indexed, whether it is African Journals Online or Director of Open Access Journals. Just to be clear, to be very, very clear, we do not index journals. We index the metadata from the institutions. So it's heavily reliant on the institute that you've identified. So if you're looking at Africa, but in order to make your process easier, you need to meet the journal publishing and practicing standards. Okay, if you meet the journal part, I'm going to put it in the link as Johansson is going to talk. If you're able to make your journal meet the journal publishing and practicing standards, it becomes slightly easier to get your, it becomes slightly easier to have your work indexed. So because there's less back and forth, but your reality is there are quite a number of journals that are seeking to be indexed, and it takes a minimum of 6 months to a maximum of 1 year, depending on how often your journal comes out. If your journal comes out monthly, that would be easier because they can see the frequency of the journal. But if you're looking at your journal comes out once a year or twice a year, they'll be looking at about 2 years, because this platform, the indexing platforms, want to see how frequent you are. Now, I understand the frustration that you may have because you'd want to have your journal indexed, but remember, you're doing this in the best interest of your authors. Okay, you want your authors to access good quality journals, journals that are accessible, journals that are reliable. This is why some of these indexing platforms take a year to 2 years before they actually accept some of these journals. So start the process right now, and also that is part of the capacity building we offer as TCC Africa and also as Africa Archive, training on journal publishing and practicing standards. We are in the process of partnering with African Journals Online in order to help researchers meet these standards effectively in Sub-Saharan Africa. Have I answered that question, James?
Yeah, and
yes, you've answered.
Yes,
I'd
and
like
even
to
Dr. Gitao Njoroge from the Chief Librarian of Kenyatta University, he's reiterating what I'm saying. You have to adhere to the journal publishing and practicing standards. So this framework, that is what we are training researchers in, and also in partnership with African Journals Online. And that is what we are trying to do to support institutions that intend to produce journals. But then at the same time, I say this with utter humility, you need to ask yourself, do you really have to have a journal? Can your institute afford to have a journal? Because it's an expensive process, and you may, and this is where most organizations tend to falter because of the expense involved in setting up and managing a journal. It's not a cheap process. So as you're going through the journal publishing and practicing standards, critically ask yourself if your institute can afford to manage it and maintain that whole process, because that is also where some of the challenges come from, the cost. There was a question from...
let me also add to that. James, recently we have some developments on lay journals, or having Africa Archive can also accept or index journals within just a few days. Working with our partners Science Open and PubPub. For example, if you know PAMJ, Pan African Medical Journal, it's also indexed as a journal on Science Open, and UNISA, is it UNISA Press also on Science Open, and we are working with Science Open in a way that journals that are from Africa can be indexed on Science Open through Africa Archive. So if you have a journal that is functional, active, and you would like that kind of assistance, then we can have a call and see how the collaboration would look like. And if it works, or if we meet what your needs are, because Science Open also has a criteria or the standards that Joy was talking about. If it meets that, then we can have it indexed within a few days, because the infrastructure is straightforward and how we are collaborating is quite elaborate. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to share with you. So if you know Science Open, also PubPub, and PubPub, interestingly, it allows for also audio and visual uploads or articles. And the lay journal concept, meaning you can have your team of reviewers or your staff still having the back-end administration of the journal. So
And,
great.
and
also-
also what you can see, what Dr. Njoroge has said is that CLISC is also going to start training institutions on how to use OJS. It's an open access publishing platform. So you see, what we are saying is that these are some of the investments you need to make. Okay, so once you are already using some of these infrastructural systems, the whole process of indexing becomes easy, even with the overlay journals that we are going to be providing through Africa Archive in our partnership with Africa Archive. It will still come down to you meeting the journal publishing and practicing standards as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Joy. Maybe just a thought I keep saying, if any institution or university wants to set up a journal, my advice and thought is always put in the librarian there so that the professors will do the editing and the issues of indexing, setting up that language. There are people who will really support you. So for colleagues, maybe you are an editor, a reviewer in a journal, and just check your team. If in your technical team you don't have a librarian, chances are that you will keep stumbling some of these issues. But if you have a librarian in the background, then you are in safe hands. So I want to also mention something, to borrow from a presentation. We had another webinar on Tuesday, and this one we are looking at the role of the university libraries in data management or open data. And the presenter used a term which I want to borrow, that there is need for us to Africanize the internet with our content. The truth of the matter is, when you look at the scholarly works today, including the link I just provided there for core, the open resources, currently it has almost 250 million journal papers, peer-reviewed. But you look at it, less than 1% is from Africa. And therefore, yes, we have resources, but most of the resources are from the West. So there's need for us to ensure that we have our work in the right journal. In the previous presentation we had, when Joy tried to look at how many papers from Rongo University, for example, on dimension, and there were less than 100, while our repository has over 500. And these are hard questions that individual universities should ask themselves. Internally, you say we have 3,000. Globally, only 1% is visible, which will be 30 papers or publications. So who is going to change this? Who is going to ensure that, yes, we only have 3,000, but the 3,000 is visible? There are two people. The first one is the researcher himself. Put your work in the correct journal. And the second one is the librarian. I keep arguing, yes, we'll index, we'll ensure our repositories are indexed. But you see, this is the secondary indexing. The primary indexing should be you publishing in the correct journal. But if you publish in the wrong journal, then you want to write on a repository to have your paper indexed. Yes, it will, but there's need to always ensure that you put your paper in the right journal. Thank you. If there's anything in the chat, then we can handle. We have. I would want us to finish at 10:30 latest, because I know Joy has been on training from Monday, and Johnson, they were gracious enough to accept to bring us on board the last day of the Open Access Week.
Yeah. No, Joel, what you're saying, I'm reiterating what you're saying. When we were talking about the FAIR principles, it also narrows down to also the authors. When you publish in journals that are indexed, it means that they're already meeting, index journals, they're already meeting the FAIR principles. It means that your work has a personal identifier. The journal is indexed and it is using platforms that can help in identifying that metadata. When we talk about metadata, you're looking at the bibliographic information, you're looking at your title, the author's details, the abstract, the things that will help you find that paper when you're doing your research discovery. Okay, so when you're saying that in your repository you have 5,000 and then you're only seeing 3,000, it means of all the researchers, 3,000 publications met the FAIR principles. So it means even you as researchers, this is where we are really pushing for you to have your work in preprint repositories. We start repositories because we start seeing your work. Okay, we start seeing your work. And for institutions, having personal identifiers, whether they're institutional ones or whether they're institutional ones or for individuals, you have all this information. This will be able to help you in increasing your visibility. Truly, the onus is on you as researchers. And then just know this, we are here. We are here to help you increase that research visibility, such that whatever you're showing in your repository is what the world is able to see. And if anything, maybe be able to see 70%, not 30%. Let's see 70%, and we try and clean out the 30% that hasn't been done. So that is my take-home message from here. We are in this together. We are here to build each other. And as I say, these are two organizations that are African, based coming out of Africa to support African researchers improve their research visibility. So it is Africa going global through Africans as well, supporting this whole process. Oh, Jacinta, you have a question? Jacinta? Jacinta, okay, maybe Obanda, you can send your closing remarks. Jacinta, please put it in the chat because we can't hear you. You can have your closing remarks, Obanda.
Great. Thank you so much. It was a very insightful session also for me, and also learning about the needs that we have among researchers, journals, and also as institutions. So yeah, I just want to encourage us to continue supporting open access because it is for the benefit of the researcher, the institutions, and also users of this research output that is coming from yourselves as researchers, as institutions. And we're glad to offer any support that we possibly can on open access, making your institution more discoverable, raising your profile as a researcher while you interact with our infrastructure at Africa Archive, and also through our collaboration with GCC Africa, increase the capacity of both the researchers, the institutions, and the open access landscape in Kenya. Thank you so much, everyone, for spending your time with us this morning.
Joel, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, colleagues, as we come to the end, I want once again to take this chance to thank each and every one of you for having found time to join this discussion. Open access is a movement, and it takes the individual effort for each and every one of us to really give a little contribution where it matters. For the librarians, we do our part. For the researchers, you're expected to do your part. And for sure, we'll Africanize the continent. I'll keep borrowing from my colleague, presenter, for that new term. Allow me to say, this year, the world has been, or rather this week, the Open Access International Week from 25th to 31st. And we are all called under the theme, it matters how we open knowledge, building structural equity. And as a university and library department, we looked at it and said, how best do we do this? And we identified two main players, that is the librarians and the researchers. So on Tuesday, we had a session for the librarians to support them also so that they have a bit of capacity, capacity to really support their researchers. And today we thought of having a session for the researchers so that we keep this debate and discussion on open access going. And I want to comment that very many universities, they're on board. Please note that TCC Africa and Africa Archive and many other players in this open access, they're out there willing to support the individual universities and individual researchers. For researchers, take note that the libraries exist for a purpose, and it is for this reason that we exist. Visit the libraries and you'll be supported so that we improve. We don't just become part of those complaining about the quality of publication and where we're publishing, but we're also doing something about it. I also want to mention and say that for us at Rongo University, this is our 5th year, trying to participate and push the open access agenda as much as the world is doing it for 14th time. This is the 14th year since Open Access Week was started. But I would want to encourage my colleague librarians that let us do it in a small way in our individual universities so that we, at the end of the day, we benefit more. If we are saying that we have 200 million, over 200 million journal papers free online, and only 1% is from Africa, already we are benefiting more from outside. Can we be a fair consumer by also giving out or sharing out our own scholarly works? So thank you very much. The VC and the DVC have been online all through the presentation. I would want to give them a chance, if any of them is online to in position to say something as we finish this session. Karibu, Prof. Nkware, if you can hear me. Prof? Maybe it's not in. I don't know if the VC is also in position to say something. Okay. I'll check as we wind up if I can get all of them. We can give closing remarks. Joy, if you have closing remarks, please.
Thank you so much, Joel, for organizing this workshop. And this is the kind of commitment we are looking at with working with the universities. Even on short notice, we are willing to make time to support you. So reach out to us. We'll be able to support you in improving your research visibility. As a center, we are here to work closely with the Vice Chancellor and the Deputy Vice Chancellors in supporting the academic community in improving writing, and scholarly communication and science communication, which will also have a strong impact with the support from the library, because they will be guiding you in the academic publishing process. With the library, just know we are here to support you in making sure that the work in your repositories can be seen. The world should be able to start seeing your the output coming out of your respective institutions. And for the researchers, I cannot emphasize this anymore, that we have a platform that can help increase your research visibility, and it is free. We have a platform that can help you with your journal selection strategy, and it is free. Okay, so please take advantage of it. Kindly take advantage of it. Use it. Okay, use it. And also with Joel, encourage all your researchers to put their papers in their manuscripts in Africa Archive as they are waiting to publish, so that they can also start protecting their outputs, so that it is not taken from them, and it can also they can also start getting they can be visible and accessible. So this, for me, my parting shot is that now we have solutions, and in Joel's words, we cannot be complaining about our poor output. We should be talking about solutions. So what is there? We are here. This is a solution for Africans by Africans to help increase African research visibility. So without further ado, I really thank you so much for having made time to accommodate us for the past 1.5 hours. Johansson, would you like to add something before we shut down?
No, thank you. I had finished my remarks earlier, okay, but I just want to say thank you all again for making time to be here. And over at Africa Archive, we'll be waiting to support you you can access us in different fronts, email or book a call with us just from visiting our website, and we'll be there to support you. And also share with you other resources that are available and that are possible with our partners. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, and do have a lovely day. Joel and the team from Rongo University, thank you so much for organizing this. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely day. Bye.
You too, thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Colette.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.